my name is Abhijay. Today I will be doing a video on how to win friends and influence people by Dale Carnegie. Essentially, this is my main goal because I usually have a hard time making friends, and I figured this book would help me lead some essential goals. So I will list down my 4 essential goals that is needed to be successful for this project. So essentially, my 4 main goals is talking to new people around me, is always smiling when talking with new people so that it can have a new smile. It's talking to people that is based on their interest, and always be interested to other people so that way they can be. So a way to influence is by visiting a local bookstore library, in this case Barnes & Noble, because they have so many options available. Now here you can see me and a new friend working on an essay together, and I feel she's a great influence because over time she's helped me a lot and has improved my essays overall, and I believe someone like her would be a great influence towards me. So, one way to influence friends is you talk to people in your classes and you continuously build a friendship with them. So there's another way is when you offer them help you need it. For example, this is Amber.
Hi.
She is currently a sophomore, and one of the best things about her is she currently takes newspaper class, which was a rewind from when we had journalism class this year. Really great time. And she does really well on her tests, and I figured she's also a great asset to when we study tests together. When we both study very well, we did really well on our tests. Even when we did talent review projects in digital communications class last year, that was a success because we got to take as much time as we need, and we would be able to manage to put together what we need, so no mistakes or any issues are done. So another way we can influence friends like Amber is work with them on school assignments or group projects. Get as much help as you needed. So whenever we are assigned to work, I usually sometimes turn to Amber for help. She does get an answer, and then oh, okay. And then there's a way to be interested in other people. Generally, if you see a person sit next to you, probably a good idea to talk to them about their interests. That way, your friendship or your relationship could kick in, and then you'll be able to have your friend down the road. So for example, when we first met, when we met in class, and then after we switched seats, we got into seats together. We both started greeting each other, and I figured, why not talk more about her? So we started talking about our common interests. We both love to travel. I love traveling and camping up to North Arizona. Well, she loves to fly to Oregon because she's got tons of family there. And we have pretty much good interests. We don't have a lot because we rarely meet in public, but these are some great examples of making friends, and also how they set you as a big impact on them. If you have a friend that you know, think of the best way to think of how it has an impact on you. Week 1 was a little hard because of figuring out how my steps can connect back to the topic that I was interested in. The techniques I developed, however, do make an impact as to why I can make friends. According to How to Win Friends and Influence People on page 89, Carnegie states, "I've been thinking of me as a good conversationalist, when in reality, I had been a merely good listener and had encouraged him to talk." I fully agree with this because when you talk with other people, including the ones you know, it can really make a huge difference on who you want to talk to. Now here the main point of making friends is usually an impact, because you can see here that me and my friend are working together based on a similar subject, and we both love to help each other out, and I loved it as well. Now here you can see me and a friend playing a game, and usually we love to play games with each other because it is usually more fun and it causes a great influence. Two started becoming a bit more easier because throughout the whole project, I started coming up with different strategies that is related to winning friends, and usually I feel very confident about it. According to How to Win Friends and Influence People on page 109, author says, such as the power, dependence, power and sincere heartfelt appreciation, the life of many a person could probably be changed if only someone make them feel important. I truly agree with this because when you make someone feel important, it makes them their day, and plus, you could win more friends down the road. So one place that I spread an influence with is with a friend here in this religious temple here. What you're seeing here is me and a friend preparing for a ceremony here. And what we can see is like I'm practicing with a friend, and we both enjoy practicing with each other, and it just really helps that how we help together. Now what you see here in this recording is me and a good friend of mine teaching how to play an instrument that is rather not easy and is way out of the typical instrument league. What you see here is playing a set of fast notes, and it makes it impossible, but with my friend in the way, she teaches how I play it, and it makes it much easier to believe. And apologize for the background audio, it was filmed not very quiet here, but anyway, you can see here that as she taught me much more, started getting a whole lot better, but I do realize I needed a little bit more practice. But with someone like her who is a good player, I could be able to be playing this rather interesting instrument down the road. And if you're wondering, yes, she is an excellent player because we usually have classes together, and it was the day we were performing before a ceremony. And I was so glad to have her to have such a great influence. You know what I mean? It's like having a partner or a friend by the side can really help you, progress throughout your whole life. And by that I mean, usually it can get tough over times, and you can see here my cousin, she's not very, she's not a camera person, neither was I, but we usually like to, talk things along and plan our way down the road. Now what you see is my cousin, or in this case my friend, describing how usually playing works, and it just helps a lot, and she's a really good influence. Week 3 was a bit easier because I was able to gather topics, I was ready to overall project, and plus I got a good sense what it's like to make friends. According to How to Make Friends and Influence People on page 56, author says if we merely try to impress people and get to interest us, we will never have many true sincere friends along the way. I truly agree with this because if we try to impress people, it's usually not the way how to make friends. Usually striking conversation is usually the best way to make friends. So one way to influence friends is if you're interested in a subject you know about. For example, I'm particularly interested in coding. So is my friend here. This is Victor.
Wow. I've been coding for about 7 years now.
That's true, yeah. He also taught me the basics of coding, and I also currently take a coding course, and it really does help me a lot. And he also does take WestMech classes, after he finishes his classes. He's done the WestMech for about 2 years from now.
It's my second year.
Yeah, it is his second year, but he's almost done with WestMech. And then after he graduates high school, he's planning to do cybersecurity, like I'm also interested in. We both are interested in this subject because we figured since cybersecurity is also related to coding purposes, it can drastically help on what we need help with. So as planned, we are doing codes together because I have developed a code and he's going to edit it together. So we have the var statement, and then we have the drinks.
It's a Java code. What I can see from the basics of what he's doing is he's setting up a code for a small shop or restaurant inside of Java. He's using a simple method of using arrays to hold the data two arrays, one for prices, one for the actual meals. You're using a print line statement to print to a console, and then the call menu to call an actual menu.
What do you recommend as to make this code a lot more, attractive?
To make the code a lot more readable and a lot more new oriented, I would use more of an object structure instead of having an array for each type of drink or available or dessert or something like that. I would create an object that will encapsulate all of them. The object will have arrays within it. It'll be an object. It'll be an object with a title, which will have other objects in it. The objects will be mains, dessert, drinks, and desserts. And inside of those objects, I would use more of an array structure inside of there. It'll be an array of objects with the title of the meal name called meal name, and the title of the cost being meal cost. And this will make the code. This will save a lot of lines. First of all, it will also make the code easier to read and easier to function. In his start function, what he does is he prints out "Welcome to my restaurant" and the following menu items. And then he asks them, like, what would you like to purchase? And he asks for a response. What he's doing instead is to get what they respond, to display all the responses and to get what he responds, it would add to the cost, and he would be running it through an array using a loop.
Yeah.
What I think, you would do something separate. You would do the object, right? So the object name would be called meals, and you do meals dot, and then you do like drinks or meals dot main or meals dot this, and then you loop through that, and then you do dot name and dot cost to get the cost and the name. It's easier to read that way. People will understand your code right outright. I would also say add a bit more comments describing certain parts of your code. And your comments should describe not only what your code does, but also describe certain parts of your code, like what variables are or why you called it that way.
Yeah, I agree. So I understand what you're saying. If you want to get a glimpse of our code, here it is.
Another thing I would say is to use Another thing I would say would be to use arrow functions instead of normal functions. This is a newer format for it. So currently he's using the function method, which will be function, the name, then it would be then he would use parentheses and then brackets around that for the function. An easier way to do it instead would be to use var, then it'll be the name of the function, and equals in the parentheses, and then then an equal sign with an arrow next to it, and then and then the brackets. This makes the code more better with the newer browsers like the HTML3 and HTML4 browsers, and also for computer systems which are now using that as a main function.
Week 4 was the final week, which was rather relieving because I got final touches and my last topics done related to my project. Overall, it was a rather easy week. According to How to Make Friends and Influence People on page 174, no one feels like he or she is being sold to something or told to do a thing. We prefer to take our own ideas because I agree with this idea, because usually when we act our own ideas, we usually come to agreement on which idea is the best, and it makes a much more fair life. Congratulations, you have made it to my outro. Thank God. This project was completely stressful because, trying to gather all sorts of different topics and such, but I was lucky that I was able to gather everything in time and to make sure to put this project together just to ensure that making friends is the best thing. Truthfully, this project was fun and stress and mixed bag, just because it's fun to make, but at the same time try to make your project look as good as possible. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this project. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.